Welcome to the Stoic Manhood Guide. Let's talk about the single most painful thing a man can hear from a woman he cares about. It's not, it's over. It's those four dreaded words. I don't feel a connection. You're left completely confused. You did everything you thought you were supposed to do. You were strong. You provided. You were a rock. But what if I told you that the very qualities you were taught are your greatest strengths, are often the biggest weaknesses when it comes to true intimacy? Here is the painful paradox many men live with. They build a fortress around their own emotions to appear strong, and then wonder why nobody can ever truly get inside. She might share something vulnerable, and instead of connection, she gets a solution. He hears a problem to be fixed, but she was sharing a feeling to be understood. So let me ask you this, and be honest. Have you ever built that fortress? Have you ever answered, "I'm fine," when you weren't, and in that moment, felt a little bit of distance grow between you and her? In this video, we are going to dismantle that fortress, brick by brick. We're going to explore what a profound, soul-deep connection actually looks like. We will break down the 7 pillars of emotional connection that women desire above almost anything else. This isn't about becoming weak. It's about unlocking a deeper, more authentic, and far more powerful part of yourself. By the end, you'll understand how to become the one man who provides not just physical safety, but profound emotional safety. And that is a feeling a woman will never want to leave. Pillar number 1, the secret of emotional accessibility. The first and most crucial pillar is emotional accessibility. This is the exact opposite of being that stoic, impenetrable rock that so many men believe they are supposed to be. For generations, society has sold men a lie. We have been taught that strength is being a black box, a fortress that never shows a crack in the armor, a man who never admits to a moment of doubt, weakness, or frustration. When a woman asks, "How was your day?" the conditioned response is a flat, one-word answer, "Fine." We tell ourselves we are protecting her from our stress, or that we are being strong by not burdening her. But from her perspective, this is not protection. It is a rejection. It is a locked door. It leaves her on the outside of your world, guessing what is truly going on in your head. This guessing game doesn't create mystery. It breeds anxiety and a profound sense of loneliness within the relationship. She cannot build a connection with a fortress. She can only stand outside and wonder why she is not allowed in. The solution is not to become weak, needy, or to complain constantly. It is to have the quiet, grounded confidence to be authentic. It's about having the courage to grant her access to your inner world, and in turn, genuinely wanting to enter hers. It's the simple but profound difference between saying, "I'm fine," and having the strength to say, honestly, "Work was frustrating today. I felt like I wasn't being heard in an important meeting, and it really put me in a funk." That single sentence of genuine self-disclosure does more to build a real, unbreakable connection than a dozen expensive dinners ever could. Why? Because it's real. It is an invitation. It tells her, "I trust you enough to see me when I'm not at my absolute best." So, I want you to ask yourself a question right now. When was the last time you replaced the easy, default answer of "fine" with an actual, honest feeling when she asked about your day? This doesn't mean you should unload all your deepest fears onto her at once. That would be overwhelming. It means having the strength to admit to small, human vulnerabilities. To say, "I'm a little nervous about that presentation tomorrow," or even, I tried cooking that new recipe and I completely failed. It was an absolute disaster. This isn't weakness. It is the very birthplace of connection, because it shows her that you are a human being, not a robot. Finally, let her see your passion. Don't hide the things you geek out about. Whether it's a deep knowledge of history, a love for building things, or an obsession with a particular film director, talking about what genuinely excites you shows her a part of your soul. That raw, unfiltered enthusiasm is infinitely more attractive than trying to seem cool and detached. An emotionally accessible man is not a puzzle to be solved. He is a world to be explored. And that is an adventure she will want to be a part of. Pillar number 2, the power of active validation. The second pillar, active validation, might be the single most misunderstood and poorly executed skill in modern relationships. Most men think that listening is a passive activity. They believe it is about being quiet until it's their turn to talk. Or even worse, they listen with the sole purpose of immediately solving the problem. This is a huge, connection-killing mistake. When a woman comes to you with an issue, she's stressed about work, upset about a friend, or feeling overwhelmed, her primary need in that moment is almost never for a solution. Her primary, fundamental need is to feel seen, heard, and understood. The man who immediately jumps into fix-it mode, while often well-intentioned, is subtly invalidating her feelings. He is sending a silent message that her emotional state is an inconvenience, a problem to be erased as quickly as possible, rather than an experience to be shared and held. She is not looking for a consultant. She is looking for a partner. She is not looking for a project manager. She is looking for a safe harbor. The solution is the art of making her feel seen and heard on a deep emotional level. You must learn to communicate. Your emotions make sense to me, and I am here with you in this feeling. To do this, you have to listen for the feeling that is hiding behind the facts. When she talks about her boss changing a project deadline, the fact is the deadline. The feeling is likely disrespect, anxiety, or a sense of injustice. Your job is to connect with the feeling, not just the fact. Think about the last time she came to you when she was upset. Was your first impulse to offer a solution like, "Well, you should do this," or was it to simply understand her experience by saying something like, "Wow, I can see why that would make you feel that way"? You can do this by using validating language, which works like magic in building connection. Instead of offering solutions, say things like, "That sounds incredibly frustrating," or "I can totally see why you would feel hurt by that," or "It makes perfect sense why you'd feel so unappreciated in that situation." Notice, you are not necessarily agreeing with the facts of her story or taking her side in a dispute. You are simply confirming that her emotional reaction to the story is valid and understandable. Before you even think about a solution, ask questions to go deeper into her experience. What was the hardest part of that for you? This single question proves that you are genuinely interested in her emotional world, not just in checking "problem solved" off your own to-do list. This is what makes her feel like she has a true partner, and that feeling of partnership is the glue that holds a relationship together. Pillar number 3, creating unshakable emotional safety. The third pillar is the creation of unshakable emotional safety. This is the profound, almost sacred feeling she has when she knows she can be 100% herself with you. She can show you her good parts, her bad parts, her silly moments and her sad moments, all without any fear of judgment, ridicule, or abandonment. This is the absolute bedrock of all lasting love and deep, soul-level intimacy. Without this, a relationship is just a performance. Many men, often unintentionally, sabotage this feeling of safety without even realizing it. They use cutting sarcasm during a moment when she is being serious. They get defensive when she brings up an uncomfortable feeling about the relationship. They minimize her concerns by saying things like, "It's not a big deal," or "You're overreacting," or they are emotionally inconsistent, warm and engaged one day, cold and distant the next. This kind of unpredictable emotional environment forces her to walk on eggshells. It forces her to wear a mask, to only show you the parts of herself that she thinks you will approve of. And no real, lasting connection can ever exist between two masks. The solution is to consciously become her safe harbor. You must become a man who is consistent, reliable, and fundamentally non-judgmental. Your emotional stability becomes her anchor in the chaotic storms of her own life and of the world outside. To build this, you must first completely eliminate judgmental and dismissive language from your vocabulary. Phrases like, "You're being too sensitive," or "Why are you making such a big deal out of this?" are relationship poison. They tell her that her feelings are wrong or invalid, which forces her to shut down and hide her true self from you. So I want you to ask yourself a hard question. Is your presence a place where she can be her complete, messy, authentic self? Or do you notice that she only shows you the easy, polished, agreeable version of herself? Next, you have to become a vault. When she shares something truly vulnerable with you, a past mistake, a current insecurity, a deep-seated fear, that information must be treated as sacred. You must never, ever bring it up later as ammunition in an argument. The moment you do that, you have broken her trust, perhaps permanently. Finally, you must practice emotional consistency. This doesn't mean you can't have bad days or feel irritable. It means you manage your own moods responsibly. It's about having the self-awareness to say, "I've had a rough day and I'm feeling a bit off," but it has nothing to do with you. This simple act protects her from personalizing your moods and allows her to feel that the man she comes home to is always, fundamentally, on her side. When a woman feels this level of safety with you, she will give you a level of trust and loyalty that most men can only dream of. Pillar number 4, the currency of consistent care. The fourth pillar is what I call the currency of consistent care. Men often fall into what I call the grand gesture trap. They believe that the big, expensive, movie-like moments are what truly show a woman they care. They save all their energy and effort for her birthday, an anniversary, or Valentine's Day. But the real fabric of a deep, resilient emotional connection is not built on a few yearly milestones. It is woven, thread by thread, in the small, seemingly insignificant moments of daily life. The man who is disengaged, distracted, and inattentive for weeks at a time, but then buys an expensive piece of jewelry or plans a lavish vacation, will find that his big gestures start to feel hollow. They can even feel like a desperate attempt to make up for an emotional deficit that he has allowed to grow. A woman lives in the moments, not just the milestones. She feels loved in the everyday texture of the relationship. The solution is to learn to speak the language of small, consistent, thoughtful acts that constantly signal to her, "You are on my mind." These are like daily deposits into the relationship's emotional bank account. When the big storms of life hit, it is this account that you will draw from, Now, if you are committed to building this kind of unbreakable bond and are ready to move beyond the surface, take a moment to hit the like button and share this video with another man who needs to hear this. Let's spread this message. To practice consistent care, you must first learn to remember the small details. It is a superpower. When she mentions in passing that she has an important presentation on Wednesday, send her a simple text Wednesday morning. Hey, thinking of you. You're going to crush that presentation today. That one text is worth more than 100 roses because it shows you were truly listening and that you care about her world. Next, practice proactive attunement. This means anticipating her needs. If you know she's had a brutal week at work, run a bath for her without being asked. If you know she gets stressed by a messy kitchen, take 10 minutes to tidy up before she gets home. Grab her favorite snack at the store just because. The fact that you are actively thinking of her well-being is what matters. Finally, use non-sexual touch generously. Hold her hand while you're walking. Put your arm around her on the couch. Give her a hug from behind while she's making coffee. These small points of contact maintain a constant current of warmth and affection that isn't just a prelude to sex. It is a constant affirmation of your partnership and your closeness. Pillar number 5, mastering heart-to-heart communication. The 5th pillar is mastering heart-to-heart communication. This means moving beyond the boring, surface-level, transactional conversations that fill most of our days and actually starve a relationship of its intimacy. Too many couples, after the initial excitement wears off, get stuck in a routine of logistical checklists. How was your day? Good. And yours? Fine. What's for dinner? Did you remember to pay that bill? This kind of talk exchanges information, but it builds zero actual connection. Over time, this leaves a woman feeling completely alone and unseen. Even when you are sitting right next to her on the couch, the relationship starts to feel like a business partnership for managing life's logistics, rather than a passionate journey shared between two souls. This is a silent killer of long-term attraction. The solution is to consciously and intentionally create space to share your inner worlds. You must have conversations about your dreams, your fears, your values, and your memories. These are the conversations that weave two separate lives into a single, shared story. I want you to think about the last time you had a deep, meaningful conversation with her. That was not about a problem, a plan, or a complaint. When was it? If you can't easily remember, that is a major warning sign. To make this happen, you must create dedicated, distraction-free space. You cannot have a deep conversation while you are both scrolling on your phones with the TV on in the background. You must set aside even 15 minutes a day to be fully present with one another. Then, instead of the generic, "How was your day?" you must learn to ask deeper, more creative, open-ended questions. Questions like, "What was the most interesting thought you had today?" Or, "What's a goal you are really excited about right now, even if it's a small one?" Or, "What is something you've been thinking about lately that you haven't mentioned yet?" These questions are keys that open the doors to her inner world. But remember, this is a two-way street, not an interrogation. You have to practice self-disclosure, too. Share a meaningful memory from your childhood. Talk about a movie that really made you think. Express a hope or a fear you have for the future. Your authenticity and your willingness to open up first is what gives her the permission and the safety to do the same. Pillar number 6. The magnetism of emotional stability. The sixth pillar is the powerful, and often dramatically underrated, quality of emotional stability. In a world that is often chaotic and unpredictable, a man who has a calm, centered, and stable emotional core is an incredibly attractive and reassuring force in a woman's life. An emotionally unstable man, on the other hand, is a source of constant anxiety. If he is overly reactive, easily angered, prone to wild mood swings, or consumed by his own insecurities, his moods become a roller coaster that she is forced to ride against her will. She never knows which version of him she is coming home to, the happy, loving partner, or the angry, withdrawn stranger. This dynamic forces her to become the manager of his emotions, constantly trying to predict and soothe his state. This role is exhausting, and it utterly drains away her attraction. A woman cannot feel safe, open, and feminine with a man who she perceives as a ticking time bomb. The solution is to become her anchor by cultivating your own strong internal foundation. You need to learn to be the thermostat, not the thermometer. A thermometer merely reflects the temperature of the room. It gets hot when things get heated. A thermostat, however, sets the temperature of the room. When you and your partner face a stressful situation, do you tend to be the thermostat who calms the room down, or the thermometer who just gets hotter along with it? Your calmness during a crisis is a superpower. It gives her the freedom to be emotional, because she trusts that you can handle the storm without sinking the ship. You can develop this by building your own emotional resilience through practices like mindfulness, regular exercise, having fulfilling hobbies, and nurturing a sense of self-worth that is not dependent on her constant approval. When you are faced with a tough situation, you must train yourself to pause before you react. That small gap between the stimulus and your response is the space where your wisdom lives. And crucially, you must learn not to personalize her emotions. When she is upset, see her feelings as information about her inner state, not as a judgment on your character. This allows you to support her through her emotions, rather than making her emotions all about you. A man who is the master of his own emotional world is a king, and a woman will always feel safe in his kingdom. Pillar number 7. The final key: leading with intent. The seventh and final pillar that ties everything together is leading with intent, an extraordinary emotional connection, the kind we have been talking about, never ever happens by accident. It is something you must consciously, deliberately, and intentionally build and maintain. Most men are completely passive when it comes to the emotional health of their relationship. They focus on the logistics, their career, their finances, planning the next vacation, and they assume that the emotional connection will just take care of itself as long as all the external stuff is handled. This passivity forces the woman into the role of the emotional manager of the relationship. She becomes the one who always has to bring up the difficult issues, the one who has to suggest quality time, the one who has to monitor the emotional temperature of the partnership. This role is not only exhausting for her, it is deeply unattractive. She wants a partner to create a beautiful relationship with, not another project that she has to manage all on her own. The solution is to take active, masculine ownership of the relationship's emotional tone and direction. This is not about being controlling or dominant. It is a form of positive leadership that creates the conditions for intimacy and connection to flourish. You must be the initiator. I want you to think about your relationship right now. Who is the primary emotional manager? Is that a role you have consciously and actively shared? Or is it a role that she has been forced to take on by default because of your passivity? Don't wait for her to complain that you two have been feeling distant. Be the one to proactively say, "Hey, I feel like we've been a bit disconnected lately. Let's put our phones away tonight and just talk." Don't wait for a special occasion to be romantic. Plan a simple, random date that is focused purely on connection. You must also intentionally schedule brief connection check-ins, asking powerful questions like, "How have you been feeling about us lately?" Or, "Is there anything you need more of from me right now?" This sends the powerful message that you are actively invested in her happiness and the health of the relationship. Most importantly, you must lead by example. You cannot expect her to be vulnerable if you remain a closed book. You cannot expect her to be validating if you are always trying to fix her. You must be the first to be accessible, the first to validate, and the first to show consistent care. Your leadership sets the tone for the entire dynamic. In the end, men have been sold a false story about what women want. They've been told to focus on their wallets, their muscles, and their status. And while those things might catch a woman's eye, they will never, ever capture her heart. Here is the most important lesson to take away from all of this. The 7 pillars we've discussed are not a checklist of things you do for her. They are the qualities of a man who has done the work on himself. The ultimate truth is you can't change her. You can only ever change yourself. But when you do, when you become this calm, centered man of purpose, you change the entire dynamic of every relationship you are in. You stop looking for the woman who will make you happy, and you become the man who creates his own meaning. And in a powerful paradox, that is when you become the kind of man a high-value woman is truly drawn to. Now, I want to hear from you. Of these 7 pillars, which one will you commit to working on, starting this week? Share your commitment in the comments below. Your story can be the spark that helps another man begin his own journey. If this guide resonated with you, and you believe in building deeper, more authentic connections, hit the like button and share this video with a man, a friend, a brother, who is ready to move beyond surface-level tricks. And to continue this journey, make sure you subscribe to the Stoic Manhood Guide. In our next video, we'll break down the single biggest mistake men make when a woman starts to pull away, and how to handle it with a calm strength that actually brings her closer. You won't want to miss it. This has been the Stoic Manhood Guide. Remember, they told you to be a rock, but the man she'll never leave is the one who became a harbor.